Now, there's a video going around right now where a bride, she thinks she can dye her flowers with flour and food coloring. And it's like a bouquet of white roses, and she puts all this flour in there, and then she puts blue food coloring.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what it is.
it's on a lot of the florist boards, and we're like...
Okay, I'll explain. I'll give you the genius behind it, because that is getting people to hate watch something. That's what she's doing. She's getting people to say, ah!
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Tide Pods.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's her saying, it's her trolling the audience, but the virality comes with people saying, look at, what are they doing? It's just like, oh, we're going to talk about this one. All right. What's going on, y'all? What's the business? It's Bryon.
and Brandy,
Today we have our special guest.
Rachael Sjn. I knew I was going to mess it up.
That's okay, everybody does.
And she's going to talk about what she's into, what's business with her businesses. There's some good stuff in here. I know that we got lots of energy in here today, so this is good. This is
Awesome.
it
You
is
got
our-
me and Rachael in here. How much more awesomeness can you get?
So, what's the business, y'all? So, Brandy, the stage is yours.
The
my
stage
dear.
is mine.
All right.
Thank you. So, Rachael, glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Why don't you go ahead and tell us, Rachael, what's the business?
Well, I'm Rachael Sjn. I am the owner of the RockStar floors, known as the Purple Orchid. We're located in Bellevue, but we service the whole Omaha metro area. And we're full service florists. We can do just about anything that has to deal with flowers, tropicals, fresh cut flowers. We're not some people want to think we're a garden center. We're not a garden center. We do carry house plants, but that's about it on the plant wise.
Okay. So, when did you get started and what made you get started?
Well, I actually have been a floral designer for 25 years, and I'd always played with flowers. My dad had me out in the gardens and so forth. And when I was in high school, I used to dry flowers from ex-boyfriends and make things. So that's kind of how I started. And I lived in Texas for a while, worked for Albertsons and their floral departments. Then moved back home and then worked for Russ's Market in Lincoln for about a year, managed a floral department there, and just realized the grocery industry was not my cup of tea.
Got it.
And there's a lot going on there. So I ended up working 6 years at Oak Creek Plants and Flowers in Lincoln, which is one of the largest flower shops in Lincoln. I call that my college years.
Okay.
And then I moved to Omaha. I worked for the Mangelsons for a few years as their wedding department head and so forth. Got to decorate the Durham Christmas tree. That was a fun experience. And then worked for a few other people. Nothing would seem to be going right, working for other people. So my husband had found a place down in Bellevue. He's like, well, why don't you do it yourself? And so 5.5 years have gone by, and here we are.
Okay. So your husband was your kind of motivation to do it the way you wanted it done.
Push me over the edge.
to make it the rock star
Right.
florist. Okay.
He always said I was his rock star, so that's where it came from.
Rock star florist. Hey, well, you are definitely a rock star. We always kind of have similar hair as far as color wise go.
Blue and purples.
Blue
Yeah.
and purples. So Rachael, what is the goal and purpose or mission of Purple Orchid?
Well, for people to feel like a rock star, and to make them look like a rock star with whoever they're giving the flowers to, that we try to have our flowers last the longest, and there's certain ways of processing flowers to make them last longer and so forth, and also to educate people on floral care and so forth, because if you just drop flowers in a vase after they've been out of water, they're not going to last very long. So we educate people on how to take care of their flowers to make them last the longest, but also to just tell people, when people say flowers just die, flowers is to represent life and how it's forever fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of life, to enjoy it while it lasts. So
I like that. Maybe that will change my perspective on flowers, because I am that person that say flowers always die, and I've kind of gotten on Bryon a couple of times and said, hey, why don't you buy me flowers? And then he reminds me, because you say flowers always die. And then I have to pout.
And the thing is, in our house, houseplants don't make it.
Yeah.
Especially if they're Brandy's houseplants.
I have a black thumb, not a green one.
She is a serial killer. She's notorious with these. Okay, so Basilin was the one that we had the longest.
Right, but I didn't start that one. Braylon did.
Yeah, our daughter started. So we adopted a basil plant.
Okay.
Our daughter is in, she's in kind of a tech, how will we say it? It's a STEM program.
Yeah.
And so, she's a licensed drone pilot. She's built a couple of websites and all this other stuff. And one of the things was working in a community garden.
Yeah.
And so she brought home Basilin. And Basilin made it about a year.
Wow, that's pretty good for a basil plant.
Yeah. And
I buy a new one every year.
and we tried with Basilin. She gave us some good basil.
There you go.
She really did.
But she didn't make it through the winter. And it was the longest one. It's the longest house plant that Brandy's been able to take care of.
Oh, hush. That's because I utilized it in food and I wanted it to last.
No.
I didn't forget about it.
Our poor spider plant. Our poor spider plant. Okay, we're not going to bring the mood down.
Please don't. The spider plant, we're not going to talk about. So, yes, we're going to get back on track here before Bryon makes me sad about how badly I can care for plants. So, Rachael, can you tell us what has been your biggest obstacle in starting Purple Orchid?
Kind of change people's buying habits, instead of just grabbing what's convenient. Is to, that what I do is an art. It's not, you're not going to see my designs. You're not going to get my designs from anywhere else in town. Yeah, you'll see a cheap price tag at certain places, but some of those places actually own the flower farms, and so that's why they can sell at such a dirt cheap price.
Oh.
And another thing is that some of the other places, like your grocery industry and so forth, they're kind of their lost leader. They really don't make money off their floral department.
Okay.
That's just to kind of get you in the door type thing to buy other things that they make money on.
Ah, so like in the event that, oh my gosh, my son or daughter has a performance and, I need flowers, the grocery store, the grab and go is kind of the...
Well, if it's after, normal business hours, it is what it is.
Right. And so, but
if you plan ahead, we can have you something. We also have a mobile flower truck that we use a lot in May. We have the contract with Baxter Arena to sell flowers at all the graduations.
Okay.
So if you do forget, we're there.
You're there. Okay. So, how can we find out when you're at some of these events?
So we do have a Facebook page. The flower truck is called Shorty the flower truck. And then we also, in the summertime, it's kind of a slow time for us. So as another revenue stream, we also use her as a lemonade truck.
Yeah.
And so we go out to car shows and stuff. She's a vintage 1979 PT truck, what they call a panel truck.
Okay.
And some people think it's PT Cruiser, but no. And so she has a nice yellow awning and stuff. So we use her for the car shows. She's vintage, so she gets into those car shows. The car guys are like, "Oh, she's cool."
Cool.
And so for lemonade, it's Shorty's Lemonade, and she has a Facebook page for that one too.
Okay. Nice.
Well, and I do want to go back. I want to take a step back here and let's talk about, because again, the concept of being able, people just want to go and get the grab and go stuff.
Right.
For the audience and the people listening, that's not what we're here to do. We're not, the reality is you can go and get the grab and go stuff. Like, and Brandy wasn't here for this one, but one of my guests previous was talking about he wants to be, his goal was to be the Salt Bay of web design. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'll take the site. I'm an artist. I'll take the site and add my special touch to it and make it something unique and something that's within my vision. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, where they're not paying just for the materials, they're paying for your expertise.
Correct.
Right. And so, you're taking that, the RockStar the rock star vibe. You know, rock stars are out on the road working on their craft, and so, you know, if you're going to be in that rock star mode, you have lots of practice of what you're doing.
Right.
You're getting years and years of experience here, as opposed to just showing up at Baker's and saying, "Oh, sorry," showing up at a local grocery store. You know, and just saying, "Give me," you know, and grabbing some flowers to go. You're actually getting expertise.
Right. And sometimes in the industry, I always tell people it's the luck of the draw when you're using the grocery industry florist, because I was trained by a great florist who had worked in a standalone floral shop, knew the ins and outs of the floral industry before she started working for Albertsons. And then she taught me. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that happens at every grocery store. Sometimes they just put a warm body back there to fill buckets and to, you know, wait on people. So not necessarily will you always get that. I mean, sometimes there are great ones, and sometimes they're retired florists that need the benefits.
Okay.
So it's luck of the draw sometimes. Like with weddings and stuff, like you were saying, you know, being a road person and doing things day in and day out, that's all I do is flowers, you know. I'm not going to make you a cake. I'm not going to take your pictures, you know.
Right. You're going to make the flowers.
Yep. And my expertise is flowers, you know. I always say to some people, just stay in your lane.
Right.
Because sometimes when you venture off into the other thing, something is going to fall apart and not, you know, I always say I feel like the girl with the spinning plates.
Well, and in that mode, and I know Brandy has another thing, but in that mode, it's kind of goes into, you're also creating the memories, because you're setting the stage for those beautiful pictures, and you're setting the stage for the pictures that are going to sit on the mantle forever.
Yeah.
And so, you know, yes, the flowers have a limited time of existence, but the memories that they create can be forever.
Oh yeah, that's like I tell brides, you know, or when I have people ask me, since I've been in the wedding industry for 20 plus years, you know, what would you tell people when they're planning a wedding, what not to skimp on? And I usually, number one is photography, and then number two, of course, it's flowers, because those flowers are in all those pictures, and those pictures are what you'll have 20, 30, 40 years from now. And so you want to be proud of that, you know, and they're going to be at your mom's house, your grandma's house, everywhere. So if you're not proud of what you have, what you're holding, you know, or you end up on the, you know, 25 worst weddings, or something like that, you know.
Right.
So, and I'll even educate the brides there for a while. It seemed like brides wanted the flowers to match their dresses so much. But in the pictures, they fade away. Right. So I try to educate the bride, say, well, let's have a contrast to it. You know, and try to encourage the brides to have some color in their bouquet, so that against that white dress, it pops, you know, because when you have a white dress and white flowers, it just kind of all blends away. So
Becomes one monotone event with your flowers. So tell us, Miss Rachael, what is the thing you enjoy most doing in your business?
Just making people happy, bringing smiles to people's faces. My father-in-law helps me with deliveries, and on the side of his card it says, I deliver smiles. And
sweet.
So, you know, even in some people's darkest times, you know, and dealing with funerals and so forth, you know, you're still bringing a light to them in that dark time.
That is so true. I recently had flowers delivered from this RockStar florist for someone, and when I walked in, out of all the flowers that were sitting there, those are the ones that I actually noticed the most.
Yep.
And like you said, the grocery is kind of the luck of the draw, but the flowers that I ordered were very vibrant in their color, just like in your personality and who you are, and it shines through. And so I do appreciate the flowers that we received. It did bring a smile to my face and to the individual that I sent them to. So that was awesome. So I appreciate that.
So with the wedding side of things, because here's what it is. I'm a marketing guy.
Yep.
And so I do want to ask, what other social media platforms are you on?
Well, I'm on, actually, I have TikTok, I have Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. I'm even better about posting stuff my own stuff to Pinterest. So that's where you can find me on most of those. So.
All right.
I gotta find you on Pinterest.
How has that impacted your business? How is that social media presence?
Well, I think it's grown my business. And being in Bellevue, some people, I go, you're lost down here in Bellevue. But doing the social media and doing networking events and so forth has built my business to where I don't need FTD and Teleflora to build my business, which most florists use those. I personally look at it as we don't use Western Union telegrams anymore. Okay. So it's kind of the same to me, the same feeling with those what they call wire services, because they charge florists a lot of money to be part of them. And so it's just like, I rather the orders I get, the money I keep, and I can reinvest it back into the community and stuff and so forth. So I think that has helped a lot. I've also seen where like the bridal shows aren't as well attended. They're breaking them down into a venue will have their own little bridal show, and that's a more one-on-one event. It's not just herding cats.
Got it.
So yeah, I do a lot of that kind of stuff, and so but just to get out there with people, and also to explain to people, I may not be the cheapest in town, but you'll be happy with what you get.
Right.
So, like the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. But I'm also not the most expensive in town either. So it's, I try to keep that middle range. Still got to pay my bills.
Right.
But yet, I do like to travel.
And it's the old conversation Brandy and I had about hot and now.
We're not talking about hot now again, are we?
Yes, we are. We are going to talk about hot now because their value proposition was we're hot now. And so it didn't say good and now. It didn't say delicious and now. It didn't say tasty and now. It just is hot and now. Do you remember the hot now burgers? For me, it was high school. Like my freshman year at high school, we're hot now.
It reminds me of Little Caesars.
Yeah. Where it was really popping. And apparently there's a place in Michigan where that's like the last hot now. And so I took a look at their menu the other day just out of curiosity after our conversation. And it looks like they've kind of scaled their pricing up and price. But when I was growing up, it was you can go there and get a $1.39 hamburger. Now, was the $1.39 hamburger good? That's not the question. If you're going there, you're going to get something that's food. That's warm food. And that's the value proposition. And so what I'm saying is this. For the audience out there, the concept of getting quality, get what you pay for. If you want value, you exchange value for value. If you want cheap, you go cheap. And so if you're looking for the cheapest option in town, that's not what this is. This is you're paying again for somebody's knowledge and expertise, the ability to say, hey, don't get that bouquet. It's gonna wash. It's gonna fade, and it's not gonna look right. Or hey, these are the colors that they.
Or when this is a flower that's in season,
right?
And the other flowers, because there are still, even though with global shipping and so forth, there's still some flowers that are still very seasonal, and we can, even with artificial, they're seasonal, and because they produce the artificial flowers for those seasons, and so if you're going out of season, it's going to be harder to find them out of season.
Okay.
So
how's the global supply chain? How's that all this stuff supply chain kind of changed the way that you do business?
Well, it's just been interesting. It hasn't really changed it. It's just other than the price of things. The one thing about we live here in the Midwest, we're not in a tropical environment, so our flowers cost more. I was actually talking with a friend in Virginia who has a flower shop, and he paid like 50 cents for roses the other day. And I'm like, shut up. Because that is not what I am paying. But he's in Virginia Beach, so he has all this access to other things that I don't. Because everything has to be shipped in from Miami and from California and so forth if we're getting it domestically. Globally, the biggest thing is Colombia and Ecuador for most flowers. We do get some of the premium flowers from Holland and so forth, but some of the supply issues we have had, like when COVID first when California shut down for COVID, I couldn't get irises and I couldn't get certain things that I always seem to always have. Last year we had a problem with getting Oasis products because they were stuck on ships. So we just kind of pivoted and just, okay, what works instead, because floral arranging has been around for centuries, eons, so there's other ways to do things. It's just not as easy. And then before Mother's Day in Valentine's area, there was some civil unrest in Ecuador, and so some flowers weren't getting shipped because they were seizing the trucks before they ever got to the planes.
Uh-huh.
So it just comes to that. A lot of people want to think that florists jack up prices at Valentine's Day just because, and it's not the florist. Right. That goes clear back to the farms. And what is almost about a month before that is the Rose Bowl Parade.
Oh,
and
right.
So that makes a big stress on the whole floral global chain. And so they're still playing catch up from the Rose Bowl Parade. And so in turns, the law of supply and demand, that's in demand. So that price is going to go up. So.
All right. So quick question, because now we're going to the business part of this. And I ask everybody this, and then we'll probably take a quick pause for the cause, and then we'll come back. And this is a two-part question. What's the best business advice you've ever received, and what is the worst business advice you've ever received? And name names. Really get no. We're gonna TMZ it. We're gonna really. No, but yeah. What's the best and what's the worst business advice you've ever received?
Oh, jeez. I know one of my old bosses told me that before I really made it in the floral and owning my own shop, to come back and talk to him in 5 years. So I should go talk to him now. I don't know advice per se. I try to drown some of it out because, you live your own life and your own things. If I listened to everybody, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Right.
Right.
And it's something I wish somebody would tell me is in starting your own business, how lonely it is. It is very lonely when you're in day in, day out, trudging through, just trying to make those bills, and it's like people who have 9-to-5 jobs, they get to have a social life, it seems like, and I would think that would be my one advice to somebody else is it's lonely, so be ready for that.
That is a very valid point. It is lonely when you're building something, but in the end, when that success hits, and you can start living your life the way you actually dreamed of it,
exactly,
that loneliness melts away. But there are times where you just want to pick up the phone and scream at somebody who knows what you're going through, or at least tell somebody who's not going to say. Who will understand sometimes.
Exactly.
And that's not always there. So sometimes you got to yell and scream at yourself in the mirror.
And your friends and family love you to death, but a lot of times, unless they've been in it, they don't quite understand it. Right. And so it's really hard because they'll say, oh, you own a business, you're good for it. Like, everything's tied up in the business right now. And we're just kind of, what we can afford, we can afford. Yeah. And sometimes you're finding yourself saying no to things that you really would love to say yes to. And so it is one of those things where other business owners kind of get it. But if you've never stepped out and done it, and we're not even talking about the side hustlers out there because that's a different beast. If you've never done it, it gets really hard to kind of really appreciate, putting everything on the line and opening up, hanging your shingle and opening up your shop. And now, the grind of it to build it up. And one of the things we see is a lot of business owners, they get in there and money starts coming in and they never adapt their mind to it. So they're like, oh, I'm making more money than I ever did before. Well, part of that goes to the profits for the business. There's going to be part of it that needs to go. You need to reinvest back into your own business before you pay yourself.
Exactly.
So,
or I had a friend one time that said to me, they were really proud of what I was doing, and they said that they never realized, and they pointed it out to me that, being in the floral industry is almost as hard as being in the restaurant industry. Oh. It's because it's a perishable product. If it doesn't sell, it goes in the trash. So, the only thing I don't have to deal with, or the restaurants do, I don't have to deal with the health department at least.
Right. So if yours perishes, it can go where, like you said, the health department can come in and shut down that restaurant.
I'm not going to make somebody sick.
Right.
Yeah, because if the food goes over and you serve it, you might end up shutting your doors.
Exactly.
In the restaurant biz. So, okay. All right.
But you're talking about the reinvesting. It's like I reinvest on almost a daily basis, and so it's just like, okay, we can be able to pay this flower bill today,
Right. But you have to reinvest it.
Yeah.
You got to believe, and you got to make sacrifices of some of the fun things that you did with your friends, when you possibly were at that 9 to 5. And now you're going to say, yeah, no, I can't go to this dinner or this party or, or this event or this concert or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
You just have to sometimes just make that sacrifice. And in the end, you'll be able to make up for it later on.
Exactly.
All right. So what we'll do is we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, and then we're going to come back and we're going to finish up. We're back, and we're gonna talk about something that we were talking about off air, and we'll talk about Rachael kind of break down the video, and then I'll talk about the concept behind that video. All right. So Rachael, tell us about this because we've both seen this video.
Yeah, I don't know who it is, but it's a bride that's in a white dress saying that she's not happy with her flowers that she got from the florist, so she has a bouquet from a grocery store because it still has the plastic around it. And she puts a bunch of flour on top of the roses and then puts like blue food coloring. And she says this is going to dye her flowers, but it doesn't, and this makes a hot mess. And it just is kind of like, that's not how you dye flowers. It's an old science experiment in class. If you did it in your science class where you actually cut the stems and have them soak up that way.
Right.
Well, and so the concept behind that is, because I've seen other videos these people have done, one where they've decided we're going to clean the toilet, and they dump every cleaning product known in the house. And
I don't know how they don't kill themselves.
And they put shaving cream in it to make it foam up. And then they scrub the toilet, and it makes an absolute mess disaster of this toilet.
Hopefully they don't mix bleach and ammonia.
They did.
Oh,
right. It's like every cleaning product.
How did they get out of there with their life? Because that creates a very noxious gas.
Right. What is it? Mustard gas?
Yeah.
Or
something like that, yeah.
The other one I've seen was they made a bunch of spaghetti and then said, this is how we do spaghetti here. And then they just took the spaghetti noodles and dumped them on the counter, and then took sauce and then dumped it on the counter.
Or the nacho bar that they do that way. Oh, that's so nasty.
And so they're just,
I know crawfish boils, they do that too.
And they're just
There's a difference.
Yeah,
they're just eating it straight off the counter. Like it is fun for the family. The concept behind this is, and the dude that I blanked his name out. He's in the manosphere. I don't like him, but I was going to do a whole video about him. The concept behind it is their virality comes from people looking at the video and saying, and sharing it to their friends. Look at these idiots here. And so they're not getting people from a positive note, like sharing stuff. They're getting people that grudge watch their stuff,
right,
and say, look at them. And so I've seen them do the same thing with wedding dresses, where they're like, we're dyeing this wedding dress, or I'm dyeing this t-shirt, and they just put a bunch of paint on something and just make a big huge mess. And then they have the other girl is in the video come in and say, oh, that's really, look how pretty that is. And it's really, here's the thing, and it sounds bad, but the attention is negative attention. And the reality is they don't care whether it's positive or negative as long as they have eyeballs, because it drives traffic. People still click on it. They still get paid the ad revenue regardless. And yes, they do pay ad revenue. They do pay. You can monetize your content on Facebook. That's what the stars are about. You click stars and Facebook pays the creators for the stars. And so they really don't care whether they're making a positive impact in the world. It's about getting people upset. And that's exactly why that video of them dying the flowers exists. And where did you see it?
On Facebook.
And how are your peers reacting to it?
In the same way. They're like, cringe-worthy.
Right. And so they create cringe-worthy content, and that's what people invest in. And it's a sad kind of commentary, but it's also the other side of social media.
Yeah, I've seen the positive side of it too. Back during COVID in 2020, we had an incident where, Omaha Public Schools was going to bring graduations back that summer. It was in the end of July, and Millard was going to do theirs, and so Baxter Arena called me early July. Hey, do you want to sell flowers at this? And of course, I was like, of course. Mm-hmm. So here I bought $10,000 worth of flowers in the middle of July, when there's no floral holiday going on or anything. So it's just like, if I don't sell it, I'm stuck with it. And so my flowers usually arrive to the U.S. on Monday and then in my door on Tuesday. Well, on that Monday, Omaha Public Schools decided to cancel graduations.
Oh, no.
And those flowers were already stateside. There was nothing I could do. And it was kind of like my worst nightmare come true. And so I just posted about it on my Facebook page. And so that was a positive thing out of social media, is so many people reposted it. I think I had 250,000 views on it. And we sold through the flowers and then some.
Nice.
So now my husband's forever trying to get that lightning in the bottle again. Like, how can we do that again where, we woke up to orders like it was Valentine's Day again? The only logistics part of it, issue-wise, was that, with Baxter, people were coming to me, and then that aspect, I had to deliver all this stuff because we didn't want people coming into a very small store. And so I had to find delivery drivers to deliver all these flowers. But we got through it, it was a positive experience, and, we had people calling us. I had a couple of my florist friends that just from out of state that called me like, here's $100, go buy you a drink or something.
Aww.
Right. Just to help me with that cost of that, with those flowers, because it's like, okay, now what do I do with all this?
Right.
Well, and I think the part of it, the lightning in the bottle, is the genuine human connection. Mm-hmm. We've had that with Coachable Athletics. We had a young man that was on the traffic at a bad car accident, and just a post online saying, hey, we're trying to help pay for this kid's medical expenses and give some money to the family. Mm-hmm. That post, without any paid traffic or anything, it took off. Mm-hmm. And so there is an element to that where, I think sometimes the social media say, all right, and the algorithm, they keep those under wraps, but there are parts of it where it feels like there's a genuine, like they're looking for something like
a feel good thing.
Yeah, a feel good thing that they can kind of ungate and let free.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right.
So I'm going to ask a question here.
Yeah.
What is your ideal, or whom is your ideal client? What purpose sets you apart for that? Or not what purpose, that is the wrong word. What sets you apart from the other florist in gaining that ideal client? What am I trying to say, Bryon? Because it is not coming out.
Basically, it's who's your dream client and what is kind of your unique place in the floral industry here.
Well, of course, brides who want to enjoy their wedding day and not have to fret about their flowers, because that's one thing I'll tell the girls is like, how do you value your time? When I have the ones that think they can do it themselves, then they end up finding out that there's more involved in it than they think. And so it's like, do you want to run around like your head cut off, or do you want to enjoy your day with your friends and family? And me and your other professionals you've hired will make your day special. So that aspect, I would love to have some funeral homes that I can be their go-to person. I'm still kind of the new kid on the block in Omaha with some of the funeral companies, so it's just they're kind of set in their ways. So I would love some corporate clients. We do have a monthly flower subscription which is great for people who want to send thank you gifts. Or I had an insurance guy that was on it for a while, and he called it his happiness insurance with his wife. Wife got flowers every month, and we knew when her birthday was and their anniversary, and so we just sent them accordingly, and so he looked like a rock star every month. And so it's a variety of things. I tell people I see people from the cradle to the grave, and so in all the special moments in between.
Right.
I would love for flowers to become more back into the mainframe of people's day-to-day stuff. It used to, you see like old pictures from way back, they always had flowers in their house and whatnot. And people have kind of gone away from that. And with plants, once you find out what your house has light-wise and so forth, and how your tendencies are on watering, plants can actually clean the air. If you have like a smoker in the house, they actually thrive in smoking houses because they like to take that in. My dad did awesome with plants because he was a heavy smoker.
Oh, wow.
But they clean the air, so they're great purifiers. So if you're one that's notorious for not watering your plants, snake plants are really easy to take care of. The way I've seen people kill those is actually from overwatering them.
Oh, I need those.
I'm notorious as not watering plants too. I have that ADHD, and so I'll forget. I'm like, oh, I was going to water that, and something else.
Squirrel.
Exactly.
Yep. So, Rachel, can I ask this one question? Because orchids are actually one of my favorite flowers. Yeah. How did you decide the name Purple Orchid?
Well, my favorite color is purple.
Okay.
And my favorite flowers are orchids.
So
that is where that came from.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about orchids and how they hibernate? And for those of us that didn't know that up front and have thrown them away?
Yeah, so orchids are like an air plant. So they actually get their moisture out of the air. So I've seen people overwater them. And as I say, kill them with kindness. If you ever gone to the tropics, if you ever gone to like Jamaica or so forth, I went down to Jamaica a couple of years ago, and we actually got to see the orchids actually growing off the side of the trees. And so that's why you see all those weird roots coming out, is because that's actually them getting the moisture of the air. Okay. So the best thing is to just kind of mist them, or if you're going to water them, keep them in the pot that they're in, but be able to pull it out if it's in a pot that doesn't have any drainage. Just let it water run out and then put it back into that non-porous container. So
I've heard ice cubes too.
I hate that one.
You do? Okay, so I might have killed my orchid with ice cubes.
Well, some people have great results with it, but for me, in my thinking and stuff, is that it's a tropical plant. It doesn't live in a frigid environment.
That makes sense.
And so you don't want a freeze zone. So you're putting something frozen on a plant. Sure. But I understand, because I have done the icing with like tulips, daffodils, stuff that grows in colder regions. And they're usually the first things up in the wintertime. Those are okay because they're used to that cold.
Got it.
But it's the diffused water is what they're going for.
Okay. So misting it would be the same thing as diffusing the water as
an ice cube.
Yeah,
because it's not just, you're not just pouring a ton of water on it all at once.
Right.
All right.
So, I'm sorry. I had to ask that question because that one was starting to eat at me. I was like, Purple Orchid, how'd you get that?
Yep. And so that's where I came up with it, because my favorite flower and my favorite color.
Hey, let's talk about lemonade.
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about lemonade. So tell us about your venture into lemonade.
So with Shorty, the flower truck, we're just trying to think of another avenue to use her outside of May. And we do dance recitals and so forth, but they're all about the same time. So, but I actually grew up in the car industry. My brother is a third generation mechanic. So I grew up around cars and stuff. And then my husband has friends that do vintage car shows and stuff. And they're like, you know what? We go to these car shows and nobody's ever selling drinks or whatnot. And so that's where that kind of more from is we start going to car shows because she's a vintage car and she's unique. She's been lowered. So she only has like a 4-inch ground clearance. So some people are like, why don't you deliver it, Shorty? And I'm like, no, Shorty does not like Omaha streets.
Right.
And so that's where we started going into doing lemonade at events and stuff. We do a big, we did one just a couple weeks ago out at the I-29 Speedway. It was called the Ice Cream Cruise. That one's been around since 2008, and I know the guy that started that. He was one of my brother's racer friends, and that has just grown astronomically. It's amazing to see how it's grown, and I'm very, very proud of Kyle for that. And so he, the last 2 years, has brought us in to be one of his lemonade vendors for that. This last one, it was really brutally hot.
Oh my.
But so it was a great day for selling lemonade.
Right.
We didn't melt under the pressure.
So the lemonade, is it a family recipe? Yes. Okay. It's a secret recipe.
Exactly. Then we also put in, like, you can have a choice of fruit. Like, we could put either strawberries or cherries or pineapple. And actually talking about supply chain issues, this summer we've been having issues getting maraschino cherries.
Oh, wow.
Those should be like on standby.
I know. And
for Sunday toppings at least.
well, we can find, just little jars, but we go through such a large amount. Sam's was out of them for a while. The Restaurant Depot was out of them. There was
just nowhere finding the
big bulk
bed
size. And so that was interesting. And then a new thing that we started doing this year is kind of fun is we put Pop Rocks in the lemonade.
Ah,
Makes it fun. The kids are just, we've learned, we put the Pop Rocks in, we put the ice in and the fruit and then the Pop Rocks and then put the lemonade over it. And so we do it at the end, the Pop Rocks go everywhere.
that would make,
But it's something fun. We also use we hand out straws that have the spoon on the end. Some people think that's kind of cool. And then we also do Twizzler straws.
Yes, yum. Twizzlers.
Yeah, kids are like, this is a straw? Huh?
Yes, it can.
So we make it fun,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the thing is, lemonade is a popular drink, and so how can people contact you?
It'd be a Shorty's Lemonade on Facebook.
All right.
All right.
So we're gonna follow Shorty, or everybody in the sound of my voice, go follow Shorty's Lemonade.
Yep.
On Facebook.
Because that's when we post, we do the Washington County Fair. This weekend we have Kicking It in the Sticks, and that's out in Arlington at the Washington County Fairgrounds. Also, we'll be in West Point for the big end of the year car show there, where they practically shut down the city for that. And then I think we're going to be at Rustoberfest, which is all the old rusty rat rods and stuff. And that's back at the I-29 Speedway. So
Okay.
All right.
And we have a young entrepreneur that is creating a lemonade drink that may pique your interest.
Oh, yeah.
In our household, we're concocting it and putting it together and perfecting it, but it may be something fun for the kids. Fizzy lemonade balls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Along the pop rock thing, but
and I actually, when I was a young girl, I used to did a little lemonade stand outside I guess I got the entrepreneurial spirit from my dad, and he passed away in 1998. So, but I can remember when I was trying a multi-level marketing thing for a while, and he bought from me, and he said, "It's just like when I used to buy your lemonade."
Hey, it takes one to teach one.
Exactly.
At all levels. So.
All right. So let's talk about products and services, and we talked about specifically who your ideal client is, who your dream clients are. Let's run down and everything is kind of a general concept, but anything that anybody could contact you for. Let's talk about all the different services you provide.
So, of course, fresh flower design for all occasions, no matter what the occasion is. We do fresh, artificial, and drieds. I do not do a flower preservation. I've had some people ask me about that. There's somebody else in town that does that, and I'll let them do that. There's a lot involved in flower preservation. I also, of course, do funeral work. You don't, unless you've already paid the funeral home a flower package, you don't necessarily always have to go through their florist. You can pick your own florist. So we can do flowers for funeral work and then weddings, corporate events. If you don't want to decorate your home for Christmas, we can come in and do that for you. Then also, of course, then we have the mobile flower truck for, like I said, we have graduations. We also take her out for dance recitals and so forth. So if you have a dance event that you want. And what we do with that, actually, with the dance teams, is we'll give them a portion of that back for them to use for the dance teams. So we give them a percentage back for the dance teams as like a fundraiser.
Nice.
We did that with Bellevue East, actually, also. We did their graduation, or we sold flowers at graduation, and then I was able to give the band boosters $400 for that. So, because I was a band nerd back in the day, so I love to support the arts in any way that I can. So,
okay,
all right.
Any other services you're forgetting? We didn't.
We name dropped the lemonade. Yeah. Oh, free game. If you're a realtor, this is probably a great opportunity to reach out to Rachael, because I can imagine as a realtor, there's nothing better than getting repeat clients or referrals. Mm-hmm. And a great way to get referrals is to stay memorable in your client's mind. What would be more memorable than an arrangement from Rachael?
Correct.
As a gift to a house that your clients are closing on. Mm-hmm. And so that could be that. I mean, you probably could really benefit from a subscription with Rachael to have to be that person that can provide whenever you close a new deal. You know, mm-hmm. And so just that kind of stuff to stay memorable in your client's mind, and so that they think about you and they think about to refer you. That small thing, it may not seem like a big deal to you, but it may seem like it may be a big deal to them, mm-hmm. and that could really stand out. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anything else you want to add?
Well, we have the Bellevue location, and that website's purpleorchidflowers.com, but then we also have 3 other websites that are floral. And we have Purple Orchid Flowers Gretna, Purple Orchid Flowers Bennington, and then Flowers for Guys. And it's that's kind of the, I like to sometimes say the naughty side of flowers.
Okay. So we will put all of those links in the show notes.
And Flowers for Guys is more ventured for the North Omaha. My husband kind of wanted to start that one, and that one has an address for our Florence home and so forth. So that it's more for North Omaha, Pocket Hills, Florence area. So
okay.
And so we do those so in the Google searches so when people are searching, so we can get flowers out in those areas, because they don't have as many florists in those areas. And so, just so people don't have that Bellevue disconnect, because mm-hmm. some people see Bellevue and they think that I won't deliver to those places. So that's why we made those other websites, so we can, because we do service those areas. We go out to Valley, of course, like I said, Bennington, Gretna, Elkhorn, we service out that area. We go to Council Bluffs, we go down to Glenwood. So like when I say we service the whole metro area, we do. I did have a guy the other day wanted me to deliver to Ashland, and I'm like, that's across the Platte. Nope. In the wrong way.
In the wrong way.
Okay. I mean, we'll do Plattsmouth, and then a little bit south of Plattsmouth, but I'm not going to be halfway to Lincoln, so.
Understood.
And that's 2 pieces of free game there for business owners. One, multiple domains don't cost a lot of money, mm-hmm. but you can really tweak a domain and speak directly to a segment mm-hmm. of an audience that you may feels not getting represented, and also intentionally serving places that are underserved. That level of intentionality could really benefit you and the community you're serving. And so those are the 2 things. Get domains that match. I've done domains that are really customized and really narrowly specific. I know one we did for Coach Mo was getbouncy.com. You know, domains don't cost a heck of a whole lot. And multiple websites, it doesn't cost, it sounds like it's cost prohibitive, but it's really not a super cost prohibitive thing, especially if you know that the market that you're speaking towards is going to actually do business with you. I'm really intrigued by Flowers for Guys. So we're going to probably talk about some ideas off air, but I really dig that. So We talked about where you're at. We talked about where you are on social media. What's the best way to contact you?
Best way is actually, I'm old school with picking up a phone.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, because like I said, I do have ADHD and there's too much other stuff in my phone. So that's what catch me is on my phone, on the business phone number 402-609-0900.
All right.
All right.
So that's the best way to get a hold of me and get my attention. Because I have some people that will email me things and I see it and then it goes away. The object permanence thing, you know.
I know how that goes. I can tell you all about that too.
Exactly. And so, and I have people message me on Facebook too. I've ordered from me on Facebook too. I have a public profile, so you can message me on there. If I don't respond back right away, then call me.
Got it.
But my normal business hours of answering the phones is usually from about 10 to 5, Monday through Friday, and 10 to 2 on Saturdays.
Okay.
All right.
So we try to keep Sundays as our day of rest. So
don't call on Sundays or leave a message on Sundays.
yeah, don't expect flowers on Sunday. Yeah. Unless it's a funeral, you know, but that's usually organized ahead of time, so I can't do funeral. I will do funerals on Sunday, but otherwise I try not to.
What kind of turnaround time?
If you want to say what we call a designer's choice, which is pretty much we make whatever we have in the cooler. That you call me that morning and get something out that afternoon.
Okay.
If you want something a little more exotic and rare, I would give us a week or two if it's something we have to special order in. So make sure we can get it with way some of the supply chain things have been sometimes. It's like, they're not going to wait to get this, you know, and then...
And then lastly, what if it's something that's off of your website? What's the general turnaround for that too?
You can order on the website up until noon.
Okay.
And if the picture is something we don't necessarily have in stock, we'll try to get as close as possible. Mm-hmm. So I always try to have people give us that grace because we don't have every arrangement made up in the back. We're not Amazon.
Right.
Right.
And so in that aspect, you know, we try to get that similar look and feel, you know, for a same day turnaround. But usually we get pretty close. So.
Got it.
All right. So I think that's about it. Rachel, do you have any closing words of wisdom for the audience?
Just keep swimming.
Keep swimming. Be a rock star.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, make sure you guys check out our playlist. We're always growing the Spotify playlist with songs that I think kind of represent the vibe of the different interviews we do. And so hopefully we can create something that we can give you a little soundtrack for your business. We appreciate Rachel coming on. Go check out the Purple Orchid online. Go check out Shorty's Lemonade online.
Or Shorty the Flower Truck.
Shorty the Flower Truck. Check us out. Yeah.
All on Facebook.
All on Facebook. And Flowers for Guys. We're going to talk about that one, but I think that some of y'all need to get up on that. But, you know, so that's all we got. So this is Bryon.
And Brandy.
And we're asking y'all.
What's the business?
All right. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Bye.